Alrighty. Alright, what's up everybody? This is Josh Wilson for TinkTink.org with the Game Review Podcast. Here today with us is Michael Kayin O'Reilly, the creator of I Want to Be the Guy. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, sir.
Alright, so first question is, why did you make I Want to Be the Guy?
I was really just looking for a project I could work on that would be a good introduction to game making. And the whole idea of making a game that had all these different traps and like every screen has something that has to be particularly programmed and different. It's like, oh, this is a good way to, experience a lot of different problems and learn how to do a bunch of different things. And it just spiraled out of control into a complete game. When I started it, I did not even visualize it coming out the way it came out.
But how long did it take you to get from point A to B?
I can't entirely remember. I think it's about 8 months. It was definitely less than a year.
Alright. So, it's still in a beta. Do you have any plans of ever completing the game?
No, I mean, it might as well just be relabeled.
Alright.
There's stuff that would be fixed, but, it's made in Multimedia Fusion 2, which is
crashes
an awful program, and I really never... Like, even making the game, it's just like, I wouldn't remember what all the variables are, because you can't even name your variables. They're just A through Z, so it's like, I wouldn't even be able to follow the code anymore, so it's like, moving on to other things. It's sad, I wish I could really fix it up nicely, but,
So, I think
sometime soon I might release all the source code and just be like, guys, fix whatever, I don't care.
So I think I've heard some rumors that the gun pieces you can can do something. You gonna debunk that right here?
They can't do anything. The idea was at the time. This is again where I really disappoint myself. I was going to make a bonus area, kind of like Hell and Cave Story. You have that extra really hard area,
right?
And it would be just like one final bit of game for people, but I just never got around to it. I got distracted by other projects. I do promise if I make another I Want to Be the Guy, which I probably will at some point, if you have the save files for the gun pieces, they will do something.
Awesome. So,
there'll be some cross sort of... I don't know what the bonus would be, but I'll come up with something.
Alright, so, like you said, if you do make another, or if you could go back and redo I Want to Be the Guy from the beginning, is there anything that you wish you could have added or taken away?
I'm actually fairly happy, bugginess aside. The free roaming aspect is a questionable element. Well, I don't know if I would take that away.
It kind of fits. I mean, this is a very Nintendo-influenced game, and I get a real Metroid vibe from it. So.
Yeah, but you don't really get to really explore all that much. I wouldn't change it, but I think if I made another I Would Be the Guy, it would be stage-based. Kind of a Yoshi's Island type of layout.
Alright, so did you have kind of a good fan base for I Want to Be the Guy. I mean, for a game that's balls hard, did you ever think you'd get a kind of a cult following like you have?
About halfway through, yeah. The game basically turned out as popular as I thought it would. No, because at a certain point I'm just like, this is gonna get on 4chan, and they're gonna love it. Like, I just had this moment like, okay, like it could be really super popular, or it could just be kind of popular, but this game's gonna, people are gonna talk about this game. Right. And it basically landed right in the middle of my expectations, which are the more realistic. Because, you always have to kind of fancy, like, well, maybe, like all sorts of crazy fantasy scenarios, but my realistic expectation basically came true. The game has over 1 million downloads now.
Oh, very nice. What any plans on maybe bringing it to the Wii homebrew or any type of iPhone, iPod, anything like that?
Since it's made in a game maker,
porting. I don't think you'd be able to do that. Maybe like
you would have to totally remake the game.
Right.
WiiWare is such a small, especially like for the homebrew stuff, it's such a small market.
Small market, big demand. Well, kind of.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, the way I think about it is if you have a hacked Wii, you have a PC to do all the stuff and get all the stuff on the memory card. So it's kind of like you can already play the game. I would rather give Mac support to the game if I somehow could, because I always feel bad for those people. I get emails from them all the time. They don't even know how to use computers. They're like, "How do I run EXE?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm sorry, you can't."
There's been a few YouTube videos of people beating the game on Impossible, which is impressive on its own just because the game crashes so much. Did you ever expect anyone to be able to do this?
Well, first it depends on the unfortunate thing with the crashing, and one of the reasons why it took me so long to notice it is certain people are very lucky and it barely ever crashes for them. So I would assume some people have the time to dedicate a whole Impossible run, probably have the game running pretty stably.
Right.
I figured it was possible. I thought it was likely it would happen, but if it didn't, I wasn't going to be surprised.
Right.
But when I added the mode, I'm thinking, like, some motherfucker's going to do this.
Somebody.
Some Japanese motherfucker's going to... And it was a Japanese motherfucker. But now it's more than that. There's Tidget, or whatever his name is.
I'm not sure.
He's also making games now after beating the game on Impossible.
I mean, if you can do that, you can do anything, I'm sure. But some people, I am not one of them, I understand your art, I guess. Some people say that the extreme difficulty of I Want to Be the Guy is just to hide poor level design. Do you have a big, nice FU to them or anything you'd like to say on that?
I don't, I can't really resent them at all. I think that's, like, if someone's like, man, fuck this game, I have no time to play this game. I have no time to appreciate this game because I really don't want to go through the bullshit of it. Because you really need to play far in the game until you realize, like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's not just putting shit down randomly. You're like, he's fucking with me at a deep psychological level.
I mean, I was pretty paranoid at the end because, I mean, it's like, okay, I just got through this really hard thing. I'm probably going to get screwed over by a tree or just something.
I love the last level because it's so slow. It's just so slow. It's almost like a gimme. Like, but my only FU to them, I wouldn't even really call it an FU, is just like look how popular the game is, and just think like, well, like if there's 1 million downloads for this game, something, and all the fan games are generally hated, something has to have been done right in this. That's all. And it's not their responsibility to even to like or even respect it. Like, I don't expect that from anybody. I get angry emails sometimes, like, fuck you thinking I should play your hard game, blah, 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 and my replies are usually like, I don't care if you don't play the game, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. And they usually immediately cool off, because they're thinking I'm some asshole who's basically passing judgment on them for not being able to beat the game. So, you know, I'm pretty lax about it.
Nice. So, or go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no.
So what's your thoughts on Demon Souls and Dark Souls being a blatant ripoff of your creation?
No. I actually haven't played either of them, and that's really disappointing. I even have a PS3.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't even have a PS3 and I've played it. I know I have a friend who's fanboying over it right now, but it's nice.
I don't play a lot of games that are long time sinks these days because I don't know, I'm always doing stuff. I like making stuff. I'm always busy. And any game I play, like, that's a game that could suck up a lot of my time, and I know it.
Right.
And I would probably like it if I play it, but it's kind of like I don't have the time to give the game the respect it deserves. I'm tempted to get Dark Souls, though. I really might. Because it is my thing. I know it's my thing, but I'm almost afraid of it in the sense that, like, I might like this game too much and I'll get nothing done.
Yeah, that's kind of my viewpoint on, like, WoW or any massively multiplayer online game. Besides
I've avoided.
I'm not a fan of paying for something every month. I like buying it and be done with it, but I'm just afraid. It's like, what if I got it and I really enjoyed it and I'm just locked in my room and just 40 years old and mom's basement.
I played Ultima Online when it came out, and that was basically it for me. I'm like, man, this isn't. All these people aren't as interesting as I thought they would be. Just having real people. It's like, oh, they're all jerkholes. Like, this isn't cool. Whatever. I'm sure they're a lot better now, but I feel fortunate that I had no desire to play MMOs.
Right. So you're working on a new project, I do believe. The name escapes me right now. Brave Earth, I think.
Yes, Brave Earth Prologue.
Prologue.
A Metroidvania under the same title.
Alright, so would you like to rant about that a little, maybe? Give us some info.
I don't know. I was kind of in a hard spot for a while where I had no projects I could work on because all the potential engines had their problems. Multimedia 2 was out. I was never going there again. And I was mostly playing with... Game Maker was too primitive for some of the things I wanted to do. Because there's, like, no nice ways to have, like, lots of layers and have them nice and organized. It seemed like a real pain to work with. I mean, it seemed powerful, but, I don't know, something about it always just took me the wrong way. And then there was Construct, which is mostly a great tool, except for the fact that it was never finished being developed. I mean, they're making Construct 2 now, and that's not ready. So the choice is a platform that's not ready and a platform that's kind of buggy. So I was thinking about making a whole big Metroidvania game, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this with a platform that's incomplete, and I'm not going to do this with a platform that's not ready. What am I going to do but sit here for like a year? And I'm like, fuck, I like Castlevania. I really like Castlevania. Like, not even the Metroidvanias, just Castlevania. And NES graphics are really cool. Let me try and do something that's like that. It's a small-scale project. And I can get this done. It'll be a nice little introduction to the game I want to make. And hopefully by then, Construct 2 will be ready, and then I'll have a nice, stable platform that can port to multiple platforms and all that lovely, nice stuff.
Very nice. Right.
Now the project's kind of gotten bigger than I thought. It's actually a pretty... I'm putting a lot more time into it than I thought I would. Not because it was harder than I thought, but because...
You care more.
I found it more fun. I'm like, oh, wow, I can just add all this shit. Like, why not?
Why not? That's always a good question. But, you worked on the Super Talking Time Brothers too, didn't you?
I submitted
trivia some
2 or 3 levels.
How was?
I think they were in the very end because I missed the first time through, which is sad. I was really impressed by all those guys, and I would have liked to get a few normal levels in. But
So how easy was the Super Mario Brothers X engine? I guess compared to any of the other ones you worked with.
It was pretty good. I mean, it's not like a game-making engine. It's just a level layout engine.
Right.
The tools are pretty easy. They're a bit of a pain to use, really kind of click-intensive to add stuff, but it was pretty cool. Sadly, it's no longer on the internet. Well, Super Mario Brothers X, because Redigit's a dickhole. Now he's a rich dickhole, which I guess is good for him.
Good for him, good for you, good for us, good for the family.
Yeah, but, I just think it's sad they just totally burnt this platform that was really cool, and then went on to steal some other game. I mean, I think it's okay. I love iteration. I love taking well-known ideas and kind of just morphing them a little bit. So I don't want to judge him on that, but I just think every time I've ever heard him say anything, though, he's always pissed me off because he's just like a jackass.
So the kid, he was an unlockable character in Super Meat Boy. How did you get in contact with Team Meat? Did they play your game?
He got in contact with me.
Oh, really? So he was like, hey, I'm playing this really hard game. Let's add the character or something?
And, it's funny. I didn't even realize who McMillan was at the time. Because I'm a really bad indie. Like, I knew some of his games. Like, if he said, like, hey, I'm the guy who made Gish, I would have been like, oh, okay, I know who you are.
Yeah.
It was just like, he's had the same email address for years. So it looks like, it's an AOL address, so it's like, what are you, some 14-year-old kid? Like, oh, you want to put me in your game? Like, whatever, I don't care, cool. And he gets back to me a year later, and I realize Super Meat Boy's a big deal. I'm like, wait, I'm in this. Like, what?
Serendipity.
And now I'm kind of semi-friends with Macmillan. Strong acquaintances would be the better word. Like, we don't bullshit about our days, but, I can go and I can message him and ask him questions and we'll talk. I helped beta Binding of Isaac.
Really?
A lot. Yeah. No, because, he gives it out to all, like, the indie guys, and they play it once or twice. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I really sat there and I beat the crap out of the game. I'm better at the game than he is. By a lot. He's like, yeah, my win-death ratios was like 1 out of 10 games. And I'm like, mine's 50-50. Like, it's like, fuck, man, what's your problem? I think that's funny, because I'm not as good at games as I want to be the guy would imply. Like, I'm good at them. But I'm not. I can't beat the game on impossible or anything.
Right. So, like, I'm assuming you are pretty decent. I won't be the guy to.
I haven't played in a while, but I can power my way through it. There's no part that's really going to catch me up too bad.
Just kind of burned into your brain.
Yeah.
Okay, so you seem very opinionated. What's your thoughts on the current gaming industry? What do you like? What do you don't like?
I don't think it affects people in the indie community act. It really kind of bugs me when they're all really down on it. I think indie's actually at this interesting crossroad where the guys who can actually make games are now actually making money, and the guys who are making stupid cute shit. Not to say it's a problem that it's stupid and it's cute, but I mean, like, just really, like, bullshit art, like, non-games. They're just now becoming a smaller and smaller audience.
Right.
So, that's good. Because you have all these platforms like Xbox Live and PSN and Steam. There's all these ways to make money for little dudes. As for normal games, big budget games, the thing I always think back to was on the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, waiting 6 months for the next big release.
Right.
That hasn't changed, and people act like. People look back like, oh man, there were so many good games on the Super Nintendo. There were so many good games on the Nintendo. It's like, and that's true. There really is a big library of really good games, but the ratio of crappy games to good games is about the same. We just forget all the crap. And games were still samey then. We'd have platformer games copying the mechanics of their successful games. Ninja Gaiden is kind of rip-off of Castlevania. You have the same energy system and everything, the same sub-weapon system. It's just like, okay, let's just add more mobility. Castlevania with mobility. That's the only thing that game is. And it's fine. It's fun. Like, who cares? So people complain like, oh, it's another FPS. It's like, who gives a shit? We've been doing that for years, and it's not any different.
Right.
Except for that I don't like console FPSs because I'm a PC snob, but that's my only problem with them. I don't care that they make a million of them. There's like all these God of War clones, and it doesn't matter if there's a million of them. We'll remember the ones that were good. All the boring ones will be forgotten. Who cares?
Right, that's a very nice point you just brought up.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting games like Demon's Souls. Bayonetta was one of my favorite games ever.
Ever?
Yeah, I really love that game.
It's weird, to say the least.
No, I like really crunchy games, and I would say that's a really crunchy game. It's not like, oh, you're going through an experience. I mean, you are. It's great because it does both, but I was one of those people that are just pulling apart the combat system and just like doing all these ridiculous showy combos that went on forever.
Yeah.
Just because I could. So.
Yeah.
So I like things where you can do that. It's not about just going through the experience. It's like there's lots of mechanics and moves and things to play around with.
All right.
I like games with high mastery. That's
easy to play, difficult to master. That's yeah. I mean, it's always nice to be rewarded for like skill, I guess. But,
I'm a big Street Fighter player. Fighting games in general. I mean, like, going to tournaments and playing with really good people and actually having, not so much anymore because I don't go anymore, but I had an amount of respect in the community. Relatively small, but people knew who I was.
Right.
So, because that's great too, because you're never the best. Ever. So no matter how good you get, you can find somebody probably within your own state that can beat your ass. And that's great. It's like having infinite difficulty levels.
And there's always some 12-year-old Asian kid who's gunning for you, too.
No, never actually the 12-year-old Asians, sadly.
Nah.
They're overrated. I mean, they're surprisingly good for their age, but no, I was good. I'm still pretty good. But
It's always nice.
no, I would play with like Justin Wong and stuff. Like,
Oh, really? Nice.
I've beaten him in some games.
Oh, that's crazy.
I beat him in a Guilty Gear tournament. I mean, that's not one of his primary games, but he's good at anything he plays.
Yeah.
I mean, if I played one of his main games, not a chance. But I beat him in Guilty Gear in a tournament match. So.
You just hold that over his head from now until the end, I guess. Well, that about does it, I guess, unless you want to speak some more about something.
No, I'm good. But if you can think of anything else, I could go on forever. But I don't have any issues sitting on top of my head right now. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to work on next.
Nice. I want to be the guy too.
Oh no, I'm just thinking about I am like working and extending a stage right now.
Oh yeah, all right.
Something I'm already thinking like, oh, what can I do? What new enemies can I add? What am I doing for the next stage? What am I doing for cutscenes? Why hasn't my music guy gotten back to me?
He's a douchebag. But well, thanks for listening to us. Thanks for speaking with us today, Kayin.
Not a problem.
All right, be sure to check out his site or blog. It's Kayin Works, I do believe.
It's kayin.pyoko.org. If you just search Kayin on Google, it's the first site that comes up.
I
don't have a proper domain name because I'm lazy and cheap.
All right, and be sure to check out the game that he's known for. I Won't Be the Guy. Just Google that or IWBTG. It should be the first result you get. And this has been Josh Wilson with TinkTink.org's Game Review. Thanks for listening. Alrighty.